Good morning. Good morning. I have two microphones, so if we get reverberation. Oh, you may be seated. I love getting to say that. Can you hear me now? Great. My name is Karen Bass. Welcome to everybody visiting, if we have visitors, and welcome to anybody who's watching us online. I'm the Director of Formation here at Christ Church. I am not a preacher by any stretch of the imagination, so if you are visiting, please come back when we have a pro sharing the message. But today is the Sunday that we are celebrating all of those in our community who have reached a milestone of graduation. And even if it's been a few years, we celebrate you today, but in particular, our college and high school graduates. So that's why I'm up here this morning. So today's gospel, just a little bit of nerdy history that I love when I get to dig deep in this kind of stuff. So it comes from John, of course, and these pieces of John, chapters 14 through 17, are actually called the farewell discourses. And today's passage is called the high priestly prayer. And a great trivia question for those of you who were here Friday night when we played trivia would have been, what is Jesus's longest prayer? Do any of my trivia friends over there know? Do you want to guess? It's not the Lord's Prayer. That's what we probably all would have thought. Okay. It's this. It is this, the high priestly prayer, Jesus's longest prayer. And in a sense, it is his commencement speech. It's his farewell, but it's also a commencement speech because the disciples are going from being students to becoming apostles. Now, they don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen, but Jesus does. So this is what he wants to leave with them. This is his commencement speech to them. And as I was thinking about this, I thought, what would I want to say? I mean, if it was me, I'm not Jesus, but what would I want to say if I was going to be not with the people that I've been with for a long time and had to be with them in a new way? And I kept coming back to a song that I love. It's a song by kind of a female supergroup called The Highwomen, not the Highwaymen or whatever that was, but The Highwomen. I saw them last summer at Wrigley Field, so that was really kind of cool. And then this past fall, I took some of our middle school students to a retreat at Camp Michael, and this song was actually the theme of that retreat. So I know it works, right? But I want to give you some lines from that. I will not sing it. Actually, I'll tell you the name of it. It's called The Crowded Table. And a few of the lines that I love: the door's always open, your picture's on my wall, everyone's a little broken, and everyone belongs. Then it goes, yeah, everyone belongs. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we are young and able. And I'm speaking to our graduates, although I would argue we are all young and we are all able. And bring us back together when the day is done. And the main lyricist of this song is a woman by the name of Brandi Carlile, and this is what she said about the song. It's about acceptance, it's about working together, and it's about making room for everybody to fit in and making sure that no one gets left out. So that's me. That's what I would want to say in my commencement address, and that's what I would want people to remember about me. And I don't know if it's working, but what I do know is why I am trying for that. So back to the gospel and Jesus' commencement speech. So usually on Sundays, and I don't think we'll do it today, but usually on Sundays, I get to leave right now, or I've left a little bit before. and taking the kids out, and I get to take them to chapel and spend time with them. And I usually do something like a godly play story or read a book that's contemporary and try to tie it back to the gospel. And I'd already planned to do that for today when Liz and I discussed this and the possibility of me doing the homily. But this story that I had for today is so good that I'm going to share it with you all. I'm not going to read it. We were thinking I might read it, but I think I'll just summarize it. It's called Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch, and it's by Eileen Spinelli. So this is a book about a man. The book starts and it's very gray and subdued, and it's about a man named Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch goes to work every day to his job at a shoelace factory, and he kind of stays by himself, and he has a routine. He goes to the same newspaper stand every day and hands a quarter and gets his newspaper, and he goes to the butcher and he goes home. And people think he's just sort of a loner, that he just doesn't really want to interact, so they kind of leave him alone. But then one Saturday, something happens. The mail person knocks on his door and hands him a huge heart-shaped box full of chocolates. And on this box is a little note, and all the note says is, "Somebody loves you." And Mr. Hatch is very taken aback, as you might, as I would be. But it changes his perspective, knowing that somebody out there loves him. So he ends up taking the box of chocolates to his shoelace factory workroom, and he shares it with all of his shoelace factory workers. And when he goes to the butcher, he has a conversation with the butcher, and the butcher's very upset because his daughter's late from school. So Mr. Hatch actually goes out and finds the daughter. And then when he goes to his newspaper stand, the newspaper stand man is not feeling well, and Mr. Hatch watches his stand so that he can go to the doctor. And then he sees the neighborhood kids kind of playing, but they don't look very happy, so he goes and makes brownies, and he takes some lemonade. And Mr. Hatch, all of a sudden, because he knows somebody loves him, is giving love back to his community. This little note, "Somebody loves you," has changed Mr. Hatch. And Mr. Hatch has in turn changed his community and the world around him. Well, then something happens, because it is a story after all. It's a Saturday, and Mr. Hatch gets a knock on the door, and it's the mail delivery person. And the mail delivery person is kind of embarrassed, and he says, "Mr. Hatch, I brought you a package a couple of weeks ago, and it wasn't for you. I delivered it to the wrong person. And can I have it back?" Which I could have left that part out, right? And Mr. Hatch actually, he still has the heart-shaped box, and he still has a note that says "Somebody loves you," and he gives them back. He doesn't have the chocolate, by the way, but he hands the heart and the note back to the mail delivery person, and that sort of feeling that somebody loves him goes away a little bit. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but in the beginning of the book, all the pictures are gray, and then as Mr. Hatch spreads love, the pictures become full color again. And so in the book, the pictures get a little bit gray, but then the people whose lives Mr. Hatch has touched don't want him to go back to being that way. He's transformed the community with his love, and so they throw a party, and everybody hands Mr. Hatch a note that says "Somebody loves you." Because once you have that love, and put that love out there, you can't take it back. There's no putting that back in the bottle. It had transformed him. It had transformed his community. And I think in Jesus' commencement speech, that's sort of what he was praying to God and saying to the disciples, "I've shared your love. They know your love. It's out there, and we can't take that back. That love can transform the world. It will transform you, but it can transform the world. It changes our personal lives. It changes our communities. And once you begin to work in the world in a way of love, when you give to charities you believe in, when you vote in ways that are helping those that are less fortunate or those on the margins, once you begin to think that way, there's no going back. So we're going to give a book today to the graduates. I know you're so excited about a book, but it's really more than a book. It's a gift. It's a gift of something that can really, I think, change the world. It's by an author named Rob Bell, who is a contemporary Christian author and speaker, and he has videos that he shares. He's got an incredible way of looking at things. This book is very accessible, and it's beautifully written. It's a book about, this is not a light topic, it's a book about heaven, hell, and the fate of every person who ever lived. It's kind of a big ask, right? The name of it is Love Wins. And Rob Bell has a way of explaining what Jesus meant at that time, the way he spoke to the disciples in a way that they would understand, and how 2,000 years later, that part hasn't changed. I want to close this morning by reading a few passages and encourage you all to read this book that we are going to give you today. I think it truly has transformative qualities. But I want to close again from Love Wins by Rob Bell. Jesus calls his disciples to keep entering into this shared life of peace and joy as it transforms our hearts, until it's the most natural way to love that we can imagine, until it is second nature, until we naturally embody and practice the kind of attitudes and actions that will go on in the age to come. It's written in one of John's letters in the scriptures that what we will be has not yet been made known. Jesus invites us to be drawn into this love as it shapes us and forms us and takes over every square inch of our lives. Jesus calls us to have our minds and hearts transformed so that we see everything differently. And he closes the book by saying, and I say to you, may you experience this vast, expansive, infinite, indestructible love that has been yours all along. May you discover that this love is as wide as the sky and as small as the cracks in your heart that no one knows about. And may you know deep in your bones that love wins. And with that, I will say amen.